Hi Anton, how are you doing and how's the situation in Finland?
Hey, all is quite okay actually, and sometimes I think Finns here even have forgotten that Corona exists, like in this pandemic. I don't know if it's good or bad thing, but at least it's quite all right, like regarding that. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Sounds good. You're about to release your new album. With your latest album, From Hell with Love, you made it in Germany into the top 10 of the German album charts. Does this increase like the pressure for your new album, and what do you hope for? How do you want to see the new album received?
Well, I guess the chart position is stressing mostly the record label. For a band, the most important thing is that we have a good album that we know that lasts many times of listening. So fans will not just listen to it once and forget, but something that they can enjoy, like for the time until the fourth album comes. So we believe it is good actually, and we hope that it will like make another step for the band. I don't believe in overnight success or anything like that, and it's all about sustaining the quality, like one album after another, one tour after another, or tour cycle to be precise, after another. So it's not like, yeah, this is the third album, the magical, like many people say. Well, they have asked me, like, how do you think that this is your third album? It's kind of, the crucial album for the band. So I always say, no, every album is crucial. Like, every album has to be 100%, like, that you stand behind it 100% and give everything while you make it and promote it and play the tours. So this is no exception. We just kind of offer the familiar Beast in Black, but with a bit more expanded soundscape, a bit heavier, but at the same time a little bit more of keyboards. And we also give this kind of a cyberpunk profile visually and theme-wise. So we hope it's enough familiar, but enough fresh at the same time, to keep the interest for the fans and new audience as well.
Mm-hmm. You just mentioned maybe some new directions when you compare your new material with the previous albums. Did you change the style of writing or recording the album, or maybe changed a little bit of the style of your music, or would you say it's more or less the same with some updates maybe?
Yeah, to be really like honest, I think it's more or less the same. The method of making it was more or less the same. So we kind of have our own way of working on these productions, and it's just like a little bit of updates. But as I said, it's a familiar Beast in Black trademark style, what people will hear in every song, even if some songs feel like, wow, this is something they haven't done, but after a while they realize, hey, but this really sounds so much like Beast in Black. And it's because the essence is always the same, how the songs are built. It's the melody. You're gonna have that kind of a good melody that's memorable and resonates in the listener. Of course, with a great singing, like Yannis is a great interpreter of the melodies and the lyrics that I write. So, and then the chord progressions they are like familiar, the same kind of chord progressions that I've always written, and with maybe small changes, but overall it's like familiar stuff all in all. The freshest thing, like outside music, I would say it's the cyberpunk profile that we kind of have given to this album. So that is something totally new, which we haven't done before on the first or the second album.
Yeah, I recognized that part. a very interesting mixture, might expand the reach of fans maybe. When you recorded the album, could you go like normally to a studio, or were you affected by the pandemic?
Well, actually, this is maybe sounds horrible when I say it, but thanks to pandemic, we were able to make this album. We had the time, you know, all the tours were postponed or cancelled. So if there wasn't pandemic, this album would have seen the light of day probably in 2023 or something. So there was no chance to make it if the tours and gigs would have happened, but we had time, also more time than on the previous albums, and that also can turn against you. In my case, it appears in a way that, you know, the more time I spend with something, the more difficult it becomes to let go of it. You know, when you kind of become so blind to the thing that you do, you have to I have to learn to let go sooner. Even when I'm given a lot of time, it's not a good thing to like always try all the alternatives and a million different sounds for the keyboards and like guitars and all that stuff. So, but also thanks to this pandemic and this amount of time that we had, we were able to work at the same time on the music video, which took almost 1.5 years until it was complete. This first single, Moonlight Rendezvous. So, and we actually, anyway, would have like wanted a massive and a totally different music video, even if there wasn't that much time, because that was the plan, to make something new and bigger and more interesting. But at least we used the time wisely, I think. Like all this time went into working on these projects like music videos, album making, and also stage production. Like we have plans for that, but it's difficult to kind of apply things for reality because of the uncertainty of the tours, and at the same time we think of new videos, like what we would like to make for A Dark Connection. Even though there will be a third single as well, third music video, I think we would still like to keep doing more videos from the songs, especially if there's not gonna be too many gigs. Hopefully there will be, fingers crossed, but you never know. The situation changes every day.
For sure. Well, at least something good came out of the pandemic. Your new album is called Dark Connection, as you already mentioned. It doesn't sound too positive or too healthy to me. What's the album about? What is the topic?
Well, the title works on multiple levels. First, if you look at the album cover art, you see the woman calling to the beast like this, come here. There's the beast reflection in her vizier. I think it was on this side or that side. And so there's some kind of a weird connection between them, and she looks like she's up to no good. She's so calm looking but dangerous because, with the long nails and the blood, little bit of blood dripping from her lip. And she's herself also connected to something bigger, because you see the cables in her spine coming from the spine, and you don't see where they are connected to, what kind of a machine, but she's somewhere there. So there's this kind of this physical, visual things where you can see the connection thing, but it's even more actually about the themes, the topics in the lyrics, where we deal about the relationships between humans and humanoid robots. In a world where these humanoid robots or synthetic humans, they can and they are sometimes even more humane than humans themselves. and they have the human capabilities, and they can feel empathy and everything like that. But still, they don't have the same treating or rights what humans have in that cyberpunk world. So that's a fascinating topic to me, which I wanted to explore. And that dark connection is about this connection of a human being and a humanoid robot. So it's kind of a forbidden connection between them. And in the music video Moonlight Rendezvous, we deal exactly with that. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted to kind of make that into the first single. It had all the basic elements for a single song, catchy, simple chorus, big chorus, heavy guitar riff, but also there was this long intro, which kind of fits to this mood when we create the kind of a backdrop for this dark cyberpunk love story. So that's what the album is mostly about. But apart from the cyberpunk themes, there are also 3 songs about Berserk, which is the Japanese manga and anime. The songs are A Dark New World, To the Last Drop of Blood, and Broken Survivors. So they have nothing to do with the sci-fi cyberpunk stuff. And a couple of songs are like personal songs, but in a way, the feel in those songs, when you listen to those, you can still imagine them being like that those things happen in a cyberpunk world. For example, My Dystopia and One Night in Tokyo, those are kind of based in real life and my personal thoughts and experiences, but I kind of added some fiction to them, so they can also be part of this kind of a sci-fi feel in that same world.
I see. So there are different influences. Since the start of your band, you paid tribute to Berserk. What is it that fascinates you about anime and manga?
First of all, it's visually really beautiful. I think I just love how it's drawn, especially in the 80s and 90s. And especially in Berserk, the stories are really deep. The characters are themselves multi-layered. They feel like real people, and that's how you grow to become attached to them. You start to see that story and the world through the characters' eyes, feel what they feel, and that's all because it's a great storytelling and great art, which is done by Kentaro Miura. He was a genius to me and super talented person. Unfortunately, he died this year in May. And we decided to dedicate this Dark Connection album to him. That was the least we could do. And apart from Berserk, as I mentioned, these Dark Connection themes about humans and humanoid robots, for example, that theme mostly comes from Armitage III, from that anime. So that was the main single anime that influenced this album's lyric writing. But there were others like Battle Angel Alita, AD Police, Bubblegum Crisis. They all deal with this kind of connection between humans and humanoid robots, and there can be a lot of drama involved in that, and that's what I like. It's action-packed world. You're right there in the middle of the action, but then when you spend time there, you start to kind of feel emotionally somehow attached to some characters and start to care about them. Plus, I think sometimes there are great songs, great soundtracks in those old animes. So many good things: art, stories, characters, soundtrack. All those things fascinate me in that anime world, and they are sometimes really brave and original and unique. Especially nowadays, if you watch some contemporary animation, they all seem like, Walt Disney kind of repeats the one and same movie and animation one after another. It's basically all the same formula how they go. But in anime, you can find more variety in the storytelling and characters, and that's why it's more fresh. And there's so much stuff in the past that I don't feel the need to kind of start searching, like following the newer stuff, because I still am not finished with finding all the great old like animes and movies and songs and whatnot,
How does those anime affect your music? How can you translate what you see and feel within those series and translate it into music? How does it work?
Well, music writing to me is a process where I shut down everything out. And it happens quite fast. Songwriting, like the melodies, the riffs and everything, it can happen in an instant, in one day or half a day or 1 week. And usually only afterwards I start to think, when I look for the songs, what I want to have on the album. I just collect a bunch of songs, and then the other members, they check out the selection that I've made and tell what are their favorites. And after that I think about the lyrics. Okay, what could this song be about? And I quite often have no idea, so I just start to read books and watch animes and films and take walks and watch documentaries quite a lot and interviews, magazines and all kinds of stuff. And then when I find something that's intriguing, then I try to spend a little bit time with that thing that I just saw or heard or read, and I just find it then eventually. But it's a mental state that you have to be. It cannot happen on tour. Let's put it this way. For me, ideas can come, but I cannot really work on them or focus on them. So I gotta have enough of free time, for the process to be by myself and relaxed enough. And yeah, well, the lyric writing actually took quite a long for this particular album. It took like half a year. Not only because I didn't think of what to write about. I did come up with what to write about, but the problem is how to translate the thoughts and the stories and the poems which I wrote, or like prose, that kind of a free poem technique. How to translate that into the melody, where you have only you have very strict frames, how many syllables you can use, and that's the challenge. And to find kind of alternative ways to say the same thing what you said freely when you wrote down on paper. Then the melody says, okay, I have only this amount of syllables you can fit. And sometimes even if you can match the syllables for a certain melody and make that line, then you realize, wow, this one part, there's one like a stress on one word that sounds unnatural. You have to know how the words are pronounced in English, and if it sounds unnatural, you have to find a replacement word or switch some places. And in 2018 I actually knew already that this album is going to be cyberpunk, even though I didn't have a single story in my head already. I just knew the overall thing that I wanted to be about, humans and humanoid robots and about their relationships. But that's all I knew. And that I decided 3 years ago. But after that came all the details of what animes and films and books were the biggest influences. And so, sorry for the long answer.
No worries. I'm asking and wondering what's the story behind this album, so that's fine and interesting to see what your thoughts were. I think you did some cover songs as well, right?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Songs. How did it came about, and how did you choose which songs you wanted to cover?
Well, actually, it was Yannis who first told in a backstage somewhere in Europe that, hey, we should cover this Manowar song, this battle hymn. And instantly I thought, yeah, because I think we both instinctively kind of felt and imagined the song as a Beast in Black version. We understood that it contains the elements and the essence what usually Beast in Black song also has, which is the chord progressions, the simple drum beat, good melody with strong lyrics and catchy chorus, and there's the metal screaming part, and then there are soft parts in that song. So everything felt nice about it, and so we just decided, all right, let's do it. And same thing with Michael Jackson's song, that They Don't Care About Us. It was instantly like, hey, green light. We imagined that very easily as a Beast in Black version because of the same reasons. And it had even more room to experiment because original song was really stripped down, really like there's percussions and a little bit of keyboards, a little bit of guitars and singing. But we had the chance to add more keyboards, like there's synth bass and many more layers and heavier drums, heavier guitars, and that's how we kind of made it sound like Beast in Black, with Yanni's voice, which is the most recognizable thing there when you hear him. So yeah, that's how.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, it's fun to hear your version of those songs. In November and December, you will hopefully come to Germany for some live shows. Which of the new songs are you keen on playing live?
To be honest, I have no idea. We don't have the set list even yet ready. So we're actually discussing about that just in these days. Like the guys just asked me, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, like, Anton, what songs are we gonna play from the new album? And I told them also, I don't know yet. I'm too busy with other works, interviews and other stuff that's going on. But let's see. I think we'll practice all the songs and then choose like maybe half of the album's songs for the set list. And if we notice that some songs or some song doesn't work live, then we can switch it during the tour. So that's why I think it's wise if we like practice them all. I mean, we have never played this live even before studio. Everybody did their homework alone. And
okay. Mm-hmm.
So we've never played this together. So it's gonna happen in the beginning of November. That's when we are supposed to have the beginning and mid-November when we are supposed to have some rehearsals. But let's see how it goes.
Okay. Do you already know who will be the supporting act or acts who go on tour with you?
Yeah, I think we announced them in the original poster already a long time ago. It's supposed to be Mr. Misery and Nestruction. It's a kind of a two Finnish guys project.
Mm-hmm.
Like they play Nintendo pixel metal or something like that. I don't know what their genre is, but they play like these Nintendo songs turned into metal versions. And it's instrumental. Only two guys on stage, so keyboardist and a guitar player. But Mr. Misery, they are like a normal band, 5 or 6 members. So, but I don't know them that well,
Mm-hmm.
I've checked a couple of songs from them on YouTube. But let's see. Like we are still like keeping the fingers crossed, so everything happens.
For sure, it would be really great if it works out this time. So fingers crossed. You managed it through all of my questions. Is there anything left you want to add, or anything further ideas you want to mention?
Well, I want to say thank you for all the fans and our listeners for the patience, for waiting for this album for a long time, and hope it will give a lasting and enjoying listening experience when the finally the album is out. And until then, until we come on tour to your closest city, just take care of yourselves, your friends and family. So.
Okay, great. Maybe we'll see us on the road, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasant conversation.
Great. So have a nice evening. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.